All right, it's another edition of the Edgington Post Show. Mark Edge coming from the North American Bitcoin Conference, doing recorded interviews here for Free Talk Live. I've got with me a guy who's been on the show more than once, Stephen Sprague from Rivetz. Stephen, you guys have a new product out that does some kind of two-factor authentication?
That's correct. So Rivetz is a company that's built software that takes advantage of the hardware security that's embedded within your existing phone. So the hardware is already there in your chipset, and we've built a set of developer tools that any application developer can use. We've also built some beginning applications. So we just launched here at the show our two-factor authentication capability. This is really a plug-and-plug replacement for Google Authenticator.
Yep.
Everywhere you're using your
awful.
Google Authenticator, you can use a Rivetz Authenticator instead. And what it does is keep the seed keys and the tamper-resistant hardware on your phone. It also provides a full backup and recovery capability. So if you have 40 stupid authenticators on your handset, you can make one backup file. You can replace it back if you lose your phone.
Is it one of these?
Access.
It's one of these 12-word mnemonics, right?
So we do use a 12-word mnemonic to create a private key that seals then the file that contains all of the authenticator seeds. That's actually done not in the operating system. It's done inside a secure enclave in the chipset on your phone. So your private keys for your two-factor, once they're generated, never leave the secure hardware of the phone.
And this is valuable because, I mean, people have used Google Authenticator, and one of the reasons that they use it is basically you have to. Some of these sites will set you up where you have to use this. But I've been using Google Authenticator for years, and it's a nightmare software to have to use.
Well, it is. I mean, it's the beginning of how we're using device registration. An authenticator is eventually device registration. And the challenge is always this sort of convenience versus security problem. And so Google's made it to the convenience side. So in some cases, like if you replicate your phone, it'll replicate all your authenticator keys. If the best part is Kraken, a couple years ago actually now, did a great article. So if you type Kraken and Google Authenticator and it comes up, it's like the 40-step plan to make your Google Authenticator safe.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And it's a 40-step plan. You can change the engine in a Nissan in 40 steps.
Right. It's a real problem. It shows the difficulty of using this software. And I don't know how long Rivetz has been around, but several years in the crypto space. And even before that, you're one of the big names when it comes to security, even providing security contracting to the government and that sort of thing. There's all kinds of problems.
So Rivetz was started in 2013.
Yeah.
Actually, Miami Bitcoin Conference 5 years ago was my first Bitcoin conference.
Was that the first one?
Yep. Read the Satoshi white paper on my airplane coming down here. Had a grand old time.
Yep.
And what was very clear is that blockchain has a lot of keys, doesn't have a lot of cybersecurity. The trick in protecting blockchain is how do we bring the cybersecurity, the protection of the key? How do we improve the quality of the transactions we send to the chain? And so Rivetz has been focused on taking advantage of the embedded hardware that's in your device. It's taken us a few years to put the deals together. Today we have an application that's compatible with about 500 million Android handsets. You can just take your application, download it.
Yep.
Like you have a Samsung phone, Rivetz will just run and take full advantage of the embedded security. We've actually also recently done a deal with Telefonica where we've been doing a joint development project to explore protecting your private key not only with the trusted execution environment, but also with the SIM module in your phone.
Oh, really?
So that way we have two separate roots of trust and two separate supply chains. So what happens is if, let's say, a manufacturer screws up and creates a weakness in the phone that you might lose your keys, like Samsung or an LG or whatever, it has. Like Intel had that problem a few years ago with Intel chipsets.
Right. And you've been in this industry for so long, you know where all the bodies are buried.
Yeah, well, humans keep making mistakes.
Yeah, it turns out.
And so actually one of the best paradigms is to use redundant systems. That's why your airplanes have redundant systems, because humans make mistakes.
Because you don't want to fall out of the sky.
And so what we're doing is using the SIM to be a second sealing mechanism to seal your private key. And so that way, if you lose your phone, not only do you have to break the carrier infrastructure, you also have to break the manufacturer infrastructure. So we're really excited about that. We're going to demonstrate that full capability with a hardware wallet capability at Mobile World Congress. We have beginnings of it we're showing here, so we can
Where's
show
the
you.
Mobile Wallet Congress?
That's
I know nothing of this.
Late February in Barcelona.
Okay.
It's the huge mobile phone industry show. And we're showing here an Ethereum wallet that's running already in the Rivetz Trust Execution environment doing transactions on testnet on Ethereum today.
Will people be able to, who are just sort of on the internet that don't go to a convention or something, will they be able to see the premiere of this software, figure out how to work it? I mean,
yeah. So we've shot actually a bunch of fun videos. So right now, if you look at our YouTube channel, you'll see
Rivetz YouTube channel.
Yeah, you'll Rivetz. Yes.
Yep.
You'll see we've done a bunch of videos around how to set up two-factor authentication at all the major exchanges.
By the way, I'd like to point out that my co-host Ian is excited about your software and is on the early list to download it or whatever the situation is. So he's really excited, and that's high praise coming on Free Talk Live.
Oh, well, thank you. and so you'll see from us the following evolution: two-factor authentication now, followed by a full crypto wallet set. And then following that with a series of policies and controls you can add to keys, like geofencing, enterprise controls, compliance controls. And that's really where our token comes into play.
I don't even know what these terms mean.
Paying for that. So you have a private key.
Yep.
We put a fence around the private key inside the trusted execution environment.
Yep, that's good.
And then we say to that fence says, you can't use this private key unless your mom says it's okay.
Right.
That's a policy.
Okay.
All right. And so we can take and attach any external service as a policy. So recently we signed a couple of partners who do geolocation.
Uh-huh.
So you could actually have a private key inside the trusted execution environment that would only work at your house.
Okay.
So you can say, like, here's my Bitcoin wallet that
okay.
only works at home.
Okay. That's really great. So what that says is that I can have a wallet on my phone that will simply only work when I'm at home.
Correct.
And that's really great because that way somebody steals your phone, they can't take the money out of it.
That's right. Or you go visit Saudi Arabia and they say, can I have your phone? And you can open it up. Well, I can't spend this Bitcoin unless I'm at home. It might be on my phone, but it only works at my house.
Right.
Right. So really interesting opportunity to build, we think, controls that are controlled by the owner of the platform. That's what we want. Like, you might be a small business and say, you can only use these keys if you're still an employee. So how about I have the key, check and see if you're still an employee every time before you use it. Or
makes sense.
Let's check and see if your phone's still working properly. We just have a service right now in partnership with Telefonica that checks to see whether your credentials are on the dark web. You probably shouldn't unlock your second factor if your first factor is already detected on the dark web. That's a good sign that maybe it's time to change your name.
Yeah, that's true. I can tell you that besides myself, friends of mine have gotten into businesses that they haven't, they don't work at anymore. And it's just like, oh yeah, I know where we can go use this piece of equipment or whatever, and we, do a midnight insertion.
Decentralized security, we don't have the ability to take all those enterprise securities are designed to be applied at the network level or the application level in the cloud. Blockchain doesn't have a network or an application living in the cloud. It only lives at where the ownership of the private key is. So now you can take those enterprise controls and say, you can only use this key after you've gone and done this compliance check, after you've done KYC, after you've done these pieces, then you can use this key.
So you're bringing industrial level security to the handheld market.
To the architecture of decentralized infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right? So on a decentralized basis, you have to move the controls to the key. You can't run it at the network, otherwise you have to have a private chain, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose. So
I got to say, I am so happy, Stephen Sprague, that you are in this particular industry. I really feel like we needed a few adults in the room, and you really brought a deep level of understanding of security here. You've been in for so long, and thank you for the stuff you've done for Bitcoin and my own security and all those things.
Well, we're happy to help, and I think the real role at the end of the day is we think the security's job is to make the consumer experience safer and simpler, not more complicated,
right,
and to improve the quality of the data and transactions that we store on chain. And so if we can deliver that, a safer and simpler experience that improves the quality, then that's what will make the data stored on chain more valuable.
Yeah, because all the security in the world, if it's not simple, is simply not going to get used. It's not going to get implemented. It's going to get messed up. There's been times when I've messed things up.
So every consumer knows exactly what this feels like.
Yep.
There's a SIM chip in the side of your phone. You registered it with your telco.
Yep.
And that way, when you want to make a phone call, you just dial the phone number and push send.
Right.
You don't dial the number and wait for a 6-digit code to be SMS to you, so you can type that in so it'll complete the call. Or dial the number, and big data and AI will decide whether your phone is feeling in the right condition as to whether to complete your call. And you get a little message that says, Stephen, would you breathe deeply and calm down so your phone will complete the call?
Stephen Sprague, Rivetz. What's your website?
Rivetz.com. Rivetz.com.
Rivetz.com. Thank you.
Thank you.